So, did you ever wonder what our state legislature does down there for the money we're paying them and the time they spend? Well, I've got a list of 11 new laws that the state of Indiana has enacted. These go into effect on July the 1st. First one has to do with what members of the elite, namely our state officials, elected officials, what kind of cars they can buy on your dime. Well, a couple of them tried to buy some very fancy cars. Secretary of State tried to get himself a $90,000 Denali, and the lieutenant governor tried to get himself an $88,000 Chevy Tahoe Country. Can't do it anymore. You want to get a standard vehicle like a standard Chevy or a standard Toyota or a standard Kia? Fine. Nothing fancy. That's a new law. New thing. Down in Indianapolis, it used to be if driving on 465, which is the loop that goes around Indy, speed limit was 55 miles an hour. This is a speed trap, folks. Nobody drives 55. Of course, here up in Fort Wayne, nobody bothers to follow any speed limit from my observation. But down in Indy, 465 was 55 miles an hour posted. Well, now they changed the law. It's now 65. Not that I think anybody down there is going to drive 65 because they aren't going to. But at least they changed the law. Also, new law, no transgender athletes in the state of Indiana playing on girls' teams. Now, the NCAA says there's only 10 in America. That's fine. None are in Indiana. And none are going to be in Indiana. No transgender athletes playing on girls' teams. Fine by me. Also, for those areas of Indiana where the sheriff doesn't want to report illegals in their jails, new law says you got to report them, sheriff. You're going to have to tell the feds, the ICE folks, I got an illegal in here. It needs to be taken care of. Now they have to report it whether they want to or not. It goes into effect July the 1st. All right, here's one you don't hear much about, lab-grown meat. Well, they're working on lab-grown animals. They take the stem cells and make it into something that looks like meat. They try to do that in the state of Indiana. Got a new law that says you got to have a label on it. Says this is imitation meat. New law, probably not a bad plan. Now, let's say you're running for school board. You used to be running for the school board. You didn't put your name on the ballot of what your party affiliation was, Republican, Democrat, whatever you were. Didn't have that on there for elections, so people didn't know if you were one side, the other side, whatever. Well, now the legislature says you can declare your name and your party. So people voting, you're the Republican or Democrat, they will now know when they're putting someone on the school board. Now, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but do it at your own peril. And by the way, if you vote straight ticket in an election, school board is not included in that straight ticket. You got to look at the individuals themselves. Also, this involves intoxicated minors. There was a law done about 12, 13 years ago that says if a kid sees another kid who's intoxicated and calls for help for the kid because he's drunk, well, that kid who called the police, he's fine. He's immune. He's not going to be charged with anything. But the kid who's drunk or whatever, he can still be charged. Well, they changed the state law. Both kids are now immune. That goes into effect on July the 1st. Now, here's the other things they've done. A couple other small things, but they're not really small. State of Indiana says no more funding for PBS or NPR, public broadcasting. No more taxpayer dollars for that. They want to do, they go on the street and sell their advertising just like the regular radio TV stations do. No more taxpayer dollars for public broadcasting and NPR. And finally, what they're going to do is to say, how about eliminating degrees in colleges that are ridiculous and they only have 2 or 3 graduates a year for a college. Let's say you have a degree in stupidity. Now, some would say most colleges are putting those degrees out now. Well, probably not. But if you have a degree in an obscure thing, gender studies, let's say, and you're only graduating 2 people a year, you're not going to have those courses anymore. That's going to be eliminated by state law. So there you go. Those are some of the laws that are changing effective July the 1st. Not very far away, folks. But get ready, because the laws are changing, and it goes to show you what they're doing down in Indianapolis is voting on things. You may not agree with everything they vote on, but at least they're doing something because you're paying for it.